Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this this jQuery an HTML image scroller. It's pretty simple to do. We'll be using jQuery plugin libraries to do most of the work for you. But what I'm going to show you in this tutorial is how to set up your page correctly for it, how to link the proper scripts in, and how to configure it a little bit. This may run into two videos with the configuration of showing you how to configure the image scroller, but at the end of it, this is basically what you'll have to use. You may recognise some of these images. They're all from tutorials that I've done on Photoshop so far. Okay, so let's get started. In the description, you'll see a few links. You'll need to grab the files that are there. Most importantly, the jQuery.js file and the jslider.js file. And I'd also recommend you getting the next.png and the prev.png. Just two buttons that I made for you to go back and forth in the slider. Excuse me. Yeah, so make sure you download those, and you've got 3 images to use, preferably to start off with of near enough the same size. That would be good. It doesn't matter too much if it isn't, because we'll do some scripting in a little bit to resize any images that aren't, or to at least fit the container. Okay, so open up your text editor of choice, whether it's Dreamweaver, TextMate if you're on a Mac like myself. Notepad's fine as well. You can do this in that, no problem. So work on a Windows or Mac, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Okay, so I'm just going to run through this really quickly. You may want to pause this at certain points just so you can catch up with what I'm doing, but just so I can fit as much in as possible. Okay, so you want to open up your HTML tags, and underneath that your head tag. Tab in one, I'm going to put the title tag, my image slider, and we'll close that off. Okay, underneath that we want to link to our what will be our CSS styles sheet, cascading styles sheet. That's what it stands for, CSS. It's basically where all the styles, the colorings of the page are set, widths, font colors, gradients you can do now with CSS3, all kinds of really cool stuff that can make really help the dynamics of the page. So what we're doing is just we're linking it. So we're just telling it that it's a style sheet it's looking for, and that it's looking for it at style.css. And we'll close that off. Underneath that, you want to open up the script tags. So script type equals text / JavaScript src, and this is where we link to, first of all, we're going to link to jQuery.js, and then we'll close the script tag after that. And I'm just going to copy that line, copy and paste it below it, save a bit of time, and change jQuery to jslider. And then underneath that you want to open up another script tag, type equals text / JavaScript, and we want to create a function. And inside that we're going to do, this is where we're stating what class is to be used for the actual slider detail. I'll tell you a little bit more about classes in a minute. I just need to link that to then the slider file, which is that there. Going again, and this is then we're defining the classes that the buttons are set for. So button next will be set to the class next, and button previous will be dot prev. that's fine there, and then just close that off there. Drop down again, close the script tag. Ooh, script tag. And you can close off the head tag, and then we're going to open up our body tag. Sorry. Inside that, we're going to make our first div layer. Best way to explain what divs are, they're basically used to help separate the page into different sections. They can then be told to do certain things with jQuery, or to contain different styles depending on the CSS used. So I could have just made a div and that would have done something for me, but I've put ID container. Container will be some CSS styling that we'll make in a minute. The reason it's an ID is because think of it as the overall parent of what we're going to put in on this next bit. In fact, the container is actually the parent of is going to be our container to hold the slider in place on the page, basically. And what we get underneath it, so if I do tab in, do div class equals slider, obviously the class is think of it as a child, as a subclass of the div above it. So whereas the ID, you may have things telling it where it's positioned on the page, the overall width and height of it. The class would be telling the elements inside it, the font color, font size, any padding that needs to be used. You can do borders with it and things like that. In fact, before that, we're going to put in the images for the buttons. So we'll open up the image tag, so img id prev class equals prev. The reason we're putting the both ID and classes, ID will be used to in the CSS. The reason we need to use an ID is because the ID will be used to position the previous button in place, whereas the class tag can't do that. It causes a mess on the page if we try. So instead we do that, and then obviously we need to use the class to then define, or to at least set it up here. If you've noticed here, there's a full stop and then the word. The full stop represents, or the dot represents, a class. If it was a hash symbol in front of it, so if it was that in front of it, that symbolises an ID, like container is. So let's keep on with this. So PNG, and close that one off, and then open up another image. One ID equals next class equals next. So C equals next. Obviously, I'm very original with my naming of files. There we go. So that's that done there. Nope, don't want to go that. Drop down there, and inside the slider, we want to do an unordered list, which is the UL tag, and then we'll do a list. Do our listing. So the first one's going to, again, they're just going to be the images that that you've selected to use. I'm putting in all these classes now, obviously, so that later on when I'm doing the CSS, I don't have to keep coming back and adding them all in. So if you do them as I'm doing them now, it'll save you a bit of time later. And I haven't put a there we go. Alt equals image 1. Nice and simple. And then close it down. I'm just going to select that, and then we'll just copy and paste it. Save a bit of time. Paste, and then just change that. Oops, 2 to 3, 3 to 2. Okay, and underneath that, close the unordered list tag, close the div tag for the slider class, close the other div tag for the container class, close the body tags, and then close HTML tags, and then just go file.